Hey, welcome to another episode of Tea Time. This is Dr. James Judge and
Dr. Kalie Judge.
And this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we want to bring light to why we don't think that that's a very good title to bring attention to something like breast cancer or cancer in general. So, we're going to go through some things today to help you move from breast cancer awareness to what we think it should be called breast cancer prevention. Because what are people really doing out there to prevent things like breast cancer?
They have no clue.
Yeah.
And it really, when you look at the things that are surrounding Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's things that are really actually feeding cancer in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And so, guys, we know that this is a heavy topic. We have family members, we have patients, we have close friends of ours that have dealt with cancer, that are dealing currently with cancer. So we're not talking about this in any light manner, but really our heart is, the best way to fight something is to never get it in the first place. And that's really where we want to help you get to. And if you're already there, we want to give you the tools of how to fight it with the best chances possible.
Yeah. We have a quote when you come into our office by Thomas Edison, and it said, "The doctor of the future will give no medication, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease." So again, why do we want to not just be aware of it? Like, everyone's aware of cancer. When I ask that in a group of people, everyone raises their hand. We know there's cancer there. So let's switch that mindset from awareness to prevention. Let's empower you as your own doctor to implement things in your life to help you prevent the disease itself. Because like she said, the best cure for cancer is never getting diagnosed in the first place. And if you equip yourself and your body with what it needs to thrive, not just survive, then guess what? You're going to do the best you can do. Because we always tell you, and all our patients, that the best doctor in the world lives right inside of you. It knows what to do. It knows how to fight cancer. When it comes to cancer, we're building 10 to 10,000 cells. That's the studies. Every single day. So thank God we are provided with an immune system to fight those cells off. Because if those immune systems weren't working correctly, then those cancer cells have a chance to spread and invade.
Yeah, a lot of times I get asked the question, Dr. Kalie, why do you eat so well? Why are you so healthy? Why do you get adjusted? Why do you live this lifestyle so intensely? And the reason is because I know what happens if I don't. I've seen it far too often of what happens if you just dip your toe in a little bit and you're not full in. And so what my mindset is I'm living as if I already have it. Because what would I change if I were to get a diagnosis? I would just become even more congruent. So if I can just live in that realm, I believe I have a much higher rate or chance of just preventing that.
So let's look at what this cancer awareness has done, right? So in 1971, on December 23rd, President Richard Nixon signed the National Cancer Act into law. The nation began a war that still rages more than 4 decades later. I hope in the years ahead, this is a quote by him, "I hope in the years ahead we will look back on this action today as the most significant action taken during my administration," Nixon said as he signed the historic legislation. The law unleashed an army of doctors and researchers and more than $100 million in federal funds for an all-out effort to find a cure. Commanding this army was a newly educated National Cancer Institute, a research entity under the National Institutes of Health with an autonomous power and special budgetary authority. Its strategy would be to develop research aimed at eliminating cancer by bombarding it with toxic drugs and radiation, and literally cutting it out using aggressive surgical techniques. It allocated billions to evaluate different agents in search of a surefire cure. Alongside these efforts, the medical industry also pulled out stops, spending hundreds of millions more to research and develop treatments on new drugs. Yet more than 40 years later, we might claim victory in some of the battles. Cancer is still winning the war. Our failure is marked by the continued growth in the number of Americans newly diagnosed with some form of cancer annually. The American Cancer Society estimates that in 2012, again, this was years ago this book was written, that the number will have reached 1.63 million, with 577,000 dying from it in the same year. This disease remains the leading cause of death in children under 15, taking more victims than asthma, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, and AIDS combined each year. Recent facts show that more than 1,500 people die from cancer each day, the equivalent of 3 fully loaded jumbo jets crashing and killing everyone on board on a daily basis, as Newsweek's Sharon Begley pointed out on September 6, 2008 article, right? So think about that. When planes crash, everybody wants to find out what the cause of that crash was. But when cancer happens, no one's really going after the cause. And my mentor said it best himself, the cause is the cure. That is the name of this book, right? Cancer Killers, the cause is the cure. Once we find the cause of something, then we can find the quote-unquote cure. But I don't even like that word cure, and I think it should be removed from our vocabulary, because if you're looking for a cure for something, that means you're looking for an end result. So we have to start changing our mentality from awareness to prevention. How do we do that? We put the ball in your court, right? We have to stop waiting until we're diagnosed to do anything about it. We have to take active responsibility in our health, and that becomes my responsibility just as much as your responsibility, right? If we want to reform healthcare, we have to start reforming ourselves. We can't rely on insurance cards to keep us healthy, right? It doesn't work that way. If it did, Steve Jobs would be alive with all the billions of dollars in his bank account. We have to learn how to prevent these diseases. Equip ourselves with the tools necessary to go out into the battlefield every single day to prevent this disease.
Yeah, and with all that being said, cancer and heart disease are still the top 2 killers in the United States. It's killing 5 out of 6 people, so that's 83% of people are dying of either heart disease or cancer. So I think it's like 1 out of 2 people are dying of cancer now. So what happens there is that, people wait. It's the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. If I feel good, I'm okay. If I'm doing pretty good, then I'm going to be okay. And that's just the worst mentality that you can have, because the fact of the matter is that this is a silent killer. Because most of you, if you go and get tested, you don't know that you have cancer until you have a big, huge tumor, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Most people get diagnosed with their cancer in stage 3, stage 4 cancer. So did that just happen overnight, or is that years and years and years of sickness building on sickness building on sickness? And one thing that's just really, really near to my heart right now, and I asked this patient if I could share her story last night. Saturday, I had a patient come into my office, pulled me into my private office in the middle of shift, and she starts crying, and she says, "Doctor, I went to another doctor to get some tests run, and the results came back, and they told me that I have cancer." And I'm like, well, like my face was even, I just remember my face was just like dumbfounded. Like, what do you mean you have cancer? Like, how does that even happen? And I'm like, well, where is it? And she said it's in her stomach, and they want her to start chemotherapy, and they want to go through radiation and go through all these things. And like in a split second, I just stopped, and I was like, no, I don't receive that for you. I don't believe that you have cancer. I don't think that this is right. I don't think that this is true. You got to lay down. We've got to get your power turned on. And then yesterday afternoon, I got a text message from the same woman, and she said, "Doctor, I just got a phone call from the same doctor, and they wanted to apologize to me and ask for forgiveness because they gave me the wrong patient's diagnosis." And now I get goosebumps, and I almost want to cry just even thinking about that, but also thinking about the number of people that have received the wrong diagnosis and never found out that it was the wrong diagnosis. And praise God for her that was all changed for her, but there's millions of other people out there that are going through these toxic overload treatments that are unnecessary.
Or even if it's the right diagnosis. That's what really the problem is with diagnosing is now you accept that diagnosis as a person, and if you do accept that, then ultimately sometimes people believe that you're going to have this the rest of your life. Like diabetes even, it's reversible. Heart disease is reversible. Cancer I've seen completely reverse, if we do the right things necessary. But again, prevention's the key, and the best diagnosis is never getting diagnosed in the first place. But it is possible to reverse these diseases. So if you are diagnosed with cancer, or you're somebody that's been living with it and battling it, we have to make sure we understand that it is something that we can fight.
Yeah, so just thinking about what you talked about, how, you know, when you get diagnosed with something, you kind of own it, and it becomes you, who you are. And so the first reason why I said to her is that I don't accept that for you, I reject that, is because I didn't want her to own that diagnosis. Regardless of what the end result was, I didn't know that it was going to be reversed on Monday. But same thing here, and this is what I want to kind of dive into, is the victim mentality versus the empowerment mentality, where most people walk around just as a victim, and you know, I'm just going to get sick, my dad has cancer, so I'm going to have cancer, my great-great-grandma has had breast cancer, so I'm going to get both of my breasts removed just in case I get cancer. And you know, there's all these things going down the line. Rather than just living in that realm, we want to give you the empowerment and put that power back in your hands to understand and know that, you know, we all have the same genes. I think it's like 0.009% different between all of us that have the same genetic makeup. And it's a matter of if we're turning those genes on or off. Are you living a lifestyle that's conducive with cancer, or are you living a lifestyle that's conducive with killing cancer every day?
I'm reading a book right now called Unshakable by Tony Robbins. It's about mastering finances and investing and 401ks and all this stuff. And he says ignorance is bliss, right? So people that, you know, talk about money, they don't want to know about money. It's bliss to them until it bankrupts them. But the same thing, and I've said this before in these podcasts, the same thing happens with people's health. You know, it's bliss until it kills you. It's bliss until you're diagnosed. So knowledge is power. You know, if we know what causes something, again, we get back to the cause. If we know it's causing your diabetes, sugar, stop eating sugar, right? If we know it's causing heart disease, the lifestyle that we have, change your lifestyle. And we know that 95% of all disease, not just cancer, is due to lifestyle. So what is the cause, right? What are we doing in our lifestyle that's causing such rampant disease here in America, right? Like she said, 83% of us, 2 diseases, heart disease and cancer. And if the majority of people that are watching right now, they don't know it's going to happen to them, they don't think it's going to happen to them because they think they're above the average, right? There's this superiority complex that think it's never going to happen to us. But chances are, again, 83%, you'll die of those 2, right? We want to help fight both of them. Because I want to be running down the beach with my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the people that I love and care about. I want to be spending life and making sure that we're spending great quality time with people, not just time that's not expressed at a full potential.
Yeah, you said something about knowledge being power, right? But I think that if we go an even bigger step, is knowledge without action is dead. And so you guys, we know what cancer is. We know where it comes from. Like I do a nutrition talk every other week in our office, and I ask them how hard it would be to remove sugar, and everyone says, well, because it's in everything and we're addicted to it. So they know it's in everything, but yet it's not in everything that I eat. It's in barely anything that I eat.
Doctors even know,
yeah,
right? But they know, and they're not following through with that knowledge, right? Knowing is knowledge. Now, here's an example, a PET scan. The way the PET scan works is you take this drink, and it goes throughout your body, and it's radioactive sugar, basically. Your cancer cells open up, gobble up the sugar, and then that tumor that you have, if you have one, lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, if they know that sugar feeds off of cancer, wouldn't you think it's possible that those doctors should be teaching their patients not to eat sugar?
Yeah, because then you go in their room after they get the PET scan, and they're eating Jell-O and pudding and...
I had a breast cancer, right? You actually, Nikki, the patient that she has, and we've been working with her for years now, she gave us a pamphlet, and it says you have to increase your calories count. So here are the cookies you should eat. Here's the angel food cake that you should eat. All this stuff filled and laden with sugar that the patient's supposed to consume, especially after radiation, because that's when you need the most energy. Getting your energy from sugar is not the best way especially when you have cancer. It's just crazy to me what these doctors know, and they're not applying it to what they know.
Yeah.
So knowledge is, like she said, knowledge is not always power, right? They're not putting that knowledge into action. They're not coming up with plans. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. We're doing the same thing. We're aware of it. But if we keep spending trillions, it's pink month right now, pink washing. That's why we're doing this, because there's going to be trillions of dollars that are introduced and donated to a cause to become more aware of this stuff and create more toxic chemicals and more toxic cures. And it's just this cascading. You know, Einstein said it best himself: if you do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results, we're all insane. We've got to do something different.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference when you look at these two words. I think the awareness is going to be the knowledge, but the awareness, when you double it with action, that's where you get prevention. And so in order to move away from something, we have to understand what that is. So can you dive into a little bit of what cancer is? Do we all have it? Are we all susceptible to it? What can we do to understand that?
Yeah, we all have cancer, right? There's 10 to 10,000 cells produced each day in your body. So it's basically a cell that has not gone through a process called apoptosis. And apoptosis is programmed cell death. And when the cell doesn't die, then the DNA in the cell gets reprogrammed and it basically becomes a rogue cell. What happens though is then that reprogramming, that cell starts to replicate into the same cells, the rogue cell, and those cells turn into cancer cells. Now, a tumor in your body is actually your body's defense to those cells growing, right? So that's the reason these tumors start to grow, because if you think about it, a tumor is just a bunch of cells that the body's trying to encapsulate and keep from moving all over your body. You know, so if you were to slice that tumor open and let that cancer out, then it goes all over your body. And I've learned this a while back, 10 years ago, that it's like a dandelion in summer that's turned into a bunch of seeds. And opening the tumor up through surgery and cutting it out, removing it, is like taking that tumor and blowing it through the rest of your body. So that's what cancer is. And again, the cell, the tumor, is not a bad thing. It's your body's defense mechanism against that cancer, and it's actually a good thing. So the goal is to get the cells to become not existent internally, right? So shrink the tumor naturally, not through chemicals, but through the immune system that you already have. That's already working for you, because you wouldn't have the tumor if it wasn't.
Yeah, so that's great. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you like what we're talking about, or if you don't like what we're talking about, share this, because people need to know, understand, and know what to do to take action. Because you have to have the knowledge before you take action, because you can start taking action in the complete wrong direction. We always talk about, if you have a map, if you're trying to get to California and you have a map to Orlando, Florida, it doesn't matter how fast you drive, if you're following the directions to Orlando, Florida, and you're trying to get to California, you're going to be going in the wrong directions. So he just told us what cancer was, so now we have to figure out really how to essentially starve cancer. Stop it from growing, because it's going to come up. Like, I have cancerous tumors trying to take over my body right now, but I woke up this morning, I worked out, I ate my good fats, I did all my good stuff, take my supplements, gonna get adjusted today. You know, so there's things that you can do to stop it, or what we like to say is to starve cancer.
Yeah. So I want to start with the environment, right? Your body is an environment, and it's an environment either cells can thrive on, like cancer, or viral cells or bacterial cells. They can thrive in that environment, or there's an impossibility that those things can live. So let's talk about environment first. How do we create an environment where cancer cells absolutely have zero chance of surviving?
Well, I think it first comes into play, if we can just talk about mindset first, because I think that too often people walk around being in a negative state, feeling run over, being depressed, being stressed out, and really you have to intentionally, and I say intentionally for a reason, intentionally, because you have to be set on what you're doing, what you're putting into your mindset, where you're taking it from. And it's every single morning, positive affirmations. For me, it's scripture that I meditate on, and then goals that I write out, just who I am, that I'm a fighter, I'm a cancer killer, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm designed for greatness. Just reiterating that stuff in your head. So I think, first of all, even if you are diagnosed with cancer, that should be the number one thing that you go after, because that's going to be the first thing that hits you is having a weakness state.
Right, and instead of buying a pink cookie for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you've got to empower yourself so you can empower other people. Knowledge is power, yes it is, but again, like we always say, you got to put it into action. but you first have to educate yourself. And taking money and giving it to somebody and eating something like a cookie, or like the football players that are wearing pink socks all over the place to create more awareness, that's okay. Mentality, right here. Educate yourself. Know what it is. Like, we're going over the overview of it. There's so much more into it. And if you are educated, then you're empowered. And that's going to have you more likely to take action.
Yeah. So mindset is huge. So develop that good mindset routine. And then I just want to quickly just hit on exercise, because we know that cancer cannot live in an oxygenated environment. And as you are exercising, you're putting good oxygen into your system, which is, again, starving the tumor cells and allowing the rest of your cells to thrive. And that's another topic I want to just hit on real quick. There are things like hyperbaric chambers, oxygen chambers, that you can go sit in to get oxygen pushed into your cells much quicker than it would be if we were just sitting here too. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Environment. Did we go over acidity?
No, we're gonna go. I just want to hit those two things
Yeah,
first.
oxygen though, and I don't want you to rely on things like that, for cancer prevention, because there's things that are easy, just like she does with challenge and just like the high intensity, short duration exercises that create more of an oxygen rich environment. Your cancer doesn't feed off of oxygen, right? It wants an anaerobic environment, okay? Meaning that there's no oxygen around. You already went through this?
No.
And it feeds off of sugar, right? So make sure that you understand that cancer feeds off sugar, not oxygen. A good healthy cell feeds off oxygen, and that's it.
Yeah, good. So now let's get into the environmental stuff. So we've got the air that we breathe in, we've got the water that we shower in, we've got things that we drink. So we have to be conscious of how really toxic those things are, because I wrote down on our list, starting at home, like a good water filter is huge. A whole house water filter, because you're taking a shower for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on who you are, and those toxins are getting soaked up and absorbed into your skin, and those go directly into your cells.
Yeah, what type of toxins are in the water?
I mean, we've got fluorides, there's chlorines, there's heavy metals, even medicine has been found in drinking water, or tap water, I guess, too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, whole house water filtration system is huge, not just for your drinking water, but everything, because we talked about how skin's your largest organ. It absorbs this stuff. I love taking baths. I do it 3 or 4 times a week. And if that bath is filled with chlorine and all this other stuff that's in there she just talked about, that stuff's getting absorbed right into my skin, going right into my cells, which we'll talk about in a second.
And then, do you want to get into like air fresheners and that kind of thing?
Not yet. Let's go into the environment on the inside of the body. Let's go through acidity.
Okay.
Okay.
So acidity, we can bounce off that with water too. So a good filtered water is going to help you with your pH system. So you have a pH system in your body, and I want you to think of that as if it were a pool. So if you've ever had a pool before, or watched somebody check the pH in the pool, they're checking to see if it's too acidic or too alkaline. And so the same concept when it comes to a pool, if it is too acidic or too alkaline, algae starts to grow in the pool. So the green stuff that kind of gets filmy around the bottom and then starts to grow hands and arms, and all kinds of monsters happen. Same thing in your body. So you have a system that measures from 0 to 14. 14 being extremely neutral or alkaline, and 0 being acidic. And so 7 would be completely neutral, right at 0. So where we want to be is at 7.5.
Yeah, right around there. 7.3 to 7.5 to make sure that you're in that more alkaline environment, because cancer cells grow in the acidic environment. So just remember that. A good way to test that is just a strip. You can put on your mouth, or you can urinate every morning to make sure that you're in alkalinity, not acidity. Yeah,
and even with that, even too much of alkaline can build cancer too. So too much of a good thing is not always a good thing.
Most people are, though, what?
Way too acidic. So we're seeing people that are probably sitting in the 3 to 4, 5, 6. 6 is probably average. But that's just because of their standard American diet. No green leafy vegetables.
Yeah, so let's talk about what causes acidity.
Yeah, so it's the fried foods, sugar, sodas, Coca-Colas, what else?
Lack of green leafy vegetables.
Yeah.
And that's why we love the products, the greens that we have on the shelf. I'm not pushing those products, but you got to have 7 servings of vegetables per day, and fruits cause even inflammation because of the sugar content. So we've got to reduce the sugar intake. That'll reduce the inflammation, which we'll talk about again. That's another thing that causes cancer cells to thrive. But you've got to be more alkaline. The more alkaline you are, the less inflamed that you are, the less chance that your your cancer cells have the ability to thrive in your body. You want to starve them.
So an easy way to remember it for me when I teach my patients is 7.365. So that's where your pH balance should be, because it's just above the neutral, but it's not too far over. So 7.365. So 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, you should be at 7.365 for your pH.
Love it.
What's the next thing?
What else? Water that you're drinking. Okay, that should be at a, for me, I drink Kangen water. That should be at a higher alkalinity level as well, because that's going to help put all the, like right now, we're drinking an acidic substance. So I'm going to counteract that with the water that I'm going to drink next. That's a 9.5 pH. So it's going to put the fire out. A good way to do that is either get I think it's called essential water that's at 9.5. Fiji water is a great pH.
You can even simply just add lemon to your water.
Right, or minerals. Mineralize your water as well.
Because yes, lemon is acidic, but as soon as it hits your saliva, it turns into an alkaline state, which helps your body
detox as well, which is a huge thing with cancer. So I think we're good with environment. Now let's go with toxicity. I've learned since the beginning of talking about cancer and educating people on cancer that cancer is caused by one of two things: toxicity or deficiency. So if we're deficient in nutrients, those cells that rely on those nutrients to thrive can't function correctly, right? Again, it's all about function. If they can't function correctly, guess what? They don't go through their programmed cell death. They cause apoptosis and deficiency in nutrients and toxicity. So let's go through toxicity and what causes your body to become toxic. First of all, where do we hold our toxic stuff that we accumulate throughout our lives?
Most of our toxins are held in fat cells in our bodies, and just talking on a weight loss standpoint, if you're overweight and you're having, like, I go to the gym for 2 hours a day and I can't seem to lose even a pound. Well, it's because you have toxins that are like literally anchored into your fat cells, and you've got to get those fat cells opened up and get those toxins released before you're ever going to be able to lose a whole bunch of pounds. There's a difference between cleansing and just dieting.
Mm-hmm.
Cleansing is getting the toxins out. Dieting is just rearranging the toxins throughout your body in different fat cells, and so they're going to eventually accumulate back to where they were before. So cleansing is the way to go.
How do we know if we're toxic?
Well, for me, you can tell different things on your body if you want to just measure that. Like if you're breaking out in your skin, if you've got BO happening, or those are two big things, within bad breath or like dry mouth too.
Yeah, constipation or even diarrhea. That means your bowels are not moving through correctly. Like she said, skin eruptions, psoriasis, pimples, all this stuff. That means that stuff is not working. Your detoxification system naturally is not working efficiently to get those toxins out through your body. So it starts to come out through different areas, and it's just not happy. Your body's not happy.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what to do first when you're trying to go through this whole health realm, and it's first thing I always suggest is you've got to clean your gut out, because that's where the toxins just park and they find a home and they get stuck in there. And it literally is like toxic sludge in your gut. And when you really go through a detoxification, you're gonna see all that sludge come on out.
I'm gonna do one this weekend. So basically it's 5 days. First day is make sure that you're not eating any sugar, carbohydrates, or anything that turns into sugar or carbohydrates. The second day is solid food, basically from whole foods that's very low in protein. Day 3, 4, and 5. No, day 2, 3, and 4 are all liquids. So basically we're going to make a broth full of minerals and nutrients that can help me sustain life throughout those next 3 days, which I would be able to sustain life anyway, but they want to keep continuing that to happen. So basically it's just liquids. So it flushes the bowels out, it flushes the liver through, and it flushes your kidneys out. And then at the end of that, those toxins hopefully start to come out of my fat cells, because even though I eat pretty clean, I'm on a keto diet, I do all this stuff, You know, I went swimming in the pool. There's chlorine that's absorbed. I have stuff that happens throughout me the entire day. I drove here in my car today, and I'm absorbing stuff through the smoke in the air. I do have some products that are slightly toxic. I bought a new cologne the other day that I thought was natural, and she said, that's toxic. I go, how do you know? Well, I got an instant headache. A couple minutes later, my head started to pound as well. So there's stuff that I'm exposed to and that everyone's exposed to. We can't become immune to it unless we live in a bubble. But we've got to continually cleanse ourselves. I would recommend doing one of those cleanses, and I'll put it on the bottom here, but it's by onit.com. And there's cleanses in our office that we help you with as well, but it's a total human cleanse. We're going to do a 28-day challenge at the end of the talk that we have this Saturday at Brain Fit to help people cleanse their body out as well. So constant cleansing, not every day, but making sure that you're doing, you're setting. She just got done with one last weekend. They did a 3 or 4 day cleanse. A fast, that's the same thing. It's helping go through it. It's biblical. You know, people have been doing this for years, and it's much more than just mental. It's physical as well.
Yeah, so when you, like you said, I did just get done with a 3 day fast, and that lets your bowels just go on a break and get back to work. You know, you said something about your cologne, so I want to go into talking about environmental toxins around us and things that you don't even think of. So things like air fresheners, the plug-ins that you have, and it squirts the good smelly stuff out, perfume, cologne, all that stuff is
Toxic.
Disrupts your hormones, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Estrogenic.
Yeah. And like he said, he walked into the x-ray room yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here? He's like, it's natural. And I'm like, there's no way, like my sinuses are on fire right now. And so some of you that are sitting either watching us right now or sitting in the hot seats, you also have toxic perfume and cologne. And not only does it bother me, but it's bothering you and you don't even know about that. Because you don't feel it.
And if it's not bothering you, that means you're not sensitive to it. That means that you're highly toxic.
So what can you use instead of that? So you can use an essential oil blend. Is great. You can make stuff up for males. You can make stuff up for females. But there's no toxins in that. There's no chemicals. There's nothing that's going to disrupt your hormones there. Even when you walk into our office, you'll smell, you know, no air fresheners are in here, but we do have diffusers going with essential oils. Not only is it cleaning the air, but it actually is helping detoxify your cells and go through that whole process too. What else do you want to talk about? Beauty products.
I want to talk about, hold on, let's go, before we go there, the stuff, especially in your car, that you're like, your nose is like a foot away from, those things that hang down and supposedly make your car smell good, especially if you're smoke and do all this stuff, you're trying to hide stuff. Those are highly toxic, and sometimes I see these cab drivers or Uber drivers, they have 15 different kinds up there. They've been saving them. And again, you're just exposing yourself to cancerous chemicals daily. Dr. Kalie said if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Also, if you can't pronounce it, don't inhale it. And if you can't pronounce it, don't put it on your skin. So that's what she's going to talk about now is the beauty care products that people use, whether it's makeup, whether it's lotions, whether it's soaps. You've got to make sure they come from non-toxic sources, non-chemical sources.
Yeah, and that's basically all I wanted to tell you, is you've got to start researching the organic, non-toxic, and I'm talking like hairspray to eyeliner to mascara, all of that stuff, even lotion. Like lotion should be coconut oil. You know, otherwise you're just putting a whole bunch of toxins onto your body that are not necessary, and you get the same results. Like I use no commercialized products in my house, not for my house as far as cleaning, not for my body as far as cleaning, not for any of my makeup or anything like that. There's zero, like literally zero commercialized products in my house, and I think I have a pretty clean, awesome looking house too.
So what are some things that you can use just to clean your house? Because again, I have a maid service that uses toxic chemicals, and every time that happens I come in and I want to change it and I forget, and it's something that we're going to do this month, change services, because it's still, you know, those toxic chemicals are going all over my counter and in my toilet bowl and on my seat on my toilet, and it's literally, I sit on that stuff and I eat it through, you know, if I eat food off the counter, I don't eat it off the counter, but it still expresses, sometimes I do, depending on the day, depending on how tired I am. But you guys get what I'm saying. It's in the air. It goes all over the place. And even candles. Like right now, I'm going to be honest with you and transparent. There is a candle going in my house that is probably toxic. I don't know, but I love the smell of it. It's pumpkin spice latte or whatever it is. You know, so again, for me, just re-educating myself, hey, stop doing that stuff. Make sure that you research it. I haven't researched it. It might be okay because it's coconut stuff. Whatever, she doesn't believe me. Anyway.
I'm a stickler.
What are some things that we can use to make our environment less toxic?
You know, for me...
Let's start with cleaning stuff.
Yeah, cleaning stuff, like, I clean with essential oils. I clean with water and vinegar and thieves oil or lemon oil. That's thieves and lemon, which I get through Young Living, are like the perfect cleaning products for everything. I clean my wood floor, I clean my sink, I clean my toilet, I clean my sink, my shower, my sinks. Everything is cleaned with that stuff. You know, as far as like toilet bowl cleaner, people like have to get the bleach and all that stuff. I started just sprinkling some thieves oil in the actual toilet bowl, and it like comes out sparkly white, and it's perfect. Mm-hmm. And some of it happens trial and error, and you just try it out and see if it works, and it works. Even like laundry soap, that should be non-toxic stuff. So right now I have a powdered laundry soap that has like 3 ingredients that I know what those are, so I'm okay with washing my clothes with that because I have to wear that stuff afterwards. And then shampoo and conditioner, I use a brand called Intelligent Nutrients. Shampoo, conditioners, hairspray, all that stuff. I get my makeup products from a company called Eco Bella, is where I get most of my eyeshadow, foundation, eyeliner, mascara, all that stuff. I don't wear that much makeup anyway, but when I do, that's what I use. So that's the gist of that. As far as like candles go, for me, I have a diffuser in every single room, so it literally smells like an essential oil bomb when you walk into my house. And then as far as like purifying the air, I like to use the salt lamp. So I have a salt lamp again in almost every single room in my house. That's constantly on. It's purifying the air. It's putting the positive ions out and attracting the negative ones. So that's
perfect.
That's my house.
Love
that's my
it.
life.
Yep. Let's go through stress.
Stress is tough.
Stress.
Because stress gets held in your cells and in your body, and you just hold on to it.
Sometimes people that have these chronic diseases, like autoimmune disorders, whatever it is, even cancers, heart diseases, all this stuff they've been harboring their entire life. So forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness allows you to let go, and it's truly forgiving. Not just saying you're sorry, but truly saying, hey, I'm going to let this go, right? Keeping this harbored in my body, in my soul, becomes a part of me, and it has to come out some way. Sometimes that turns into stuff that we're talking about, whether it's even neck pain. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about tapping on the meridians and focusing on that pain, making sure that, we're not harboring some sort, like this man that was going through the process, he just had a baby, and he wasn't bendable, so the pain came up in his neck, and he couldn't move. So they used the process of it's called tapping, to go through the process. There's different spots that you tap on through the body to help just release it. And I was thinking about what he was actually doing there. He wasn't just tapping on his face. He was focusing on something that was underlying, right? The cause of the pain was inside. It was deep within. He let it go, and within 30 seconds, I think it was, he could move more without doing anything physically. It was more mental. So we always say, and when we get on an airplane, the stewardess, they say, put your mask on first. You've got to make sure that you're dealing with your stress first. I think it's the #1 thing that people neglect the most, and they have to change it as soon as they can. Going through the process, making sure that they're literally trashing the junk, right? Dumping the junk of stress and harboring this thing called hate.
Yeah, so not even just hate from the outside or hating other people, but I want to talk about just self-image and self-love and body image, because there's so many times, especially for women, and I'm sure it's true for men too, but I know for sure women, we think we're not thin enough, or we're not fit enough, or our hair's not long enough, or it's not short enough, or it's the wrong color. We just have these negative mindsets about ourselves, and that's just, that gets harbored too into our bodies. And There's one of my friends is actually doing this whole thing on what if cancer actually doesn't exist and it's just an emotional tie that's stuck in and gets stuck in like your breast tissue or your ovaries or your whatever it is that we can go into. But really, loving yourself first is key to success, because that's going to be where, if you can love every square inch of your body, of your mind, of your soul, then the world is going to love you. Your other people are going to love you. You're going to find joy in the moments. And then another thing too is just our negative self-talk to ourselves. And I just wrote down here, we talk to ourselves worse than we would ever allow anybody else talk to us. And I think we have to really tune in to the negative chatter we have in our minds about ourselves. What are you saying to yourself when you wake up in the morning? What are you saying to yourself when you look in the mirror? What are you saying to yourself when you hear your voice? We get to hear our voice every single week because we do these talks and we play these for our patients. And 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I hate listening to my voice. I hate this stuff. Have all these negative thoughts. And now that's completely changed, and I'm totally fine with it. Sometimes I don't really enjoy singing when we hear singing over and over again.
I sing pretty good.
But what it is really just taking care of your space, taking care of you. Because if you can take care of your space, your mindset, your emotions, then other people are going to respect that and honor that.
Would you be friends with the person that talks to you in your head every day?
I would be now. I'm good.
Yeah, but that's a good question to ask yourself. Would you be friends with that person? And to be honest, there's some days I would not be friends with myself. And it's a constant battle. And she's not perfect either. No one is. But the more we're proactive about this stuff, right? Getting up in the morning with intention, making sure that we understand what we're going to go through that day, being prepared for life, being prepared for stuff that happens, and making sure that you put health as a priority. Because if other things are in priority in your life, your health eventually is going to go away, whether it's your mental health, whether it's your physical health. You've got to put this thing called health at a priority, because there's always something that's going to interfere with it. But it's up to you to make sure that this something called health, if you truly believe it's the most important thing in your life, takes priority, and nothing comes in your way of that.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about this, is to develop a strong room, because I know that there's times when I'm not feeling good or he's not doing okay, and we reach out to each other, or I've got friends and family that we can pour into each other. So developing that strong room means developing that group of people that are going to just fight for you. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend text me this morning, we were in a conversation about something totally different, but she said disconnected things eventually become sick and die. And that's so true. And so that's why we have to put up a fight for each other, but put up a fight before it gets to the fighting stages. So I don't want to have to fight for you when you get cancer. I want to fight for you now before that ever has to happen. We don't want that cancer to be growing and not be in control. So develop that strong room and stay connected to people. Pour into them. If you know somebody's not doing well, feed them an extra line of encouragement. Feed them an extra line of hey, I got your back today. I'm praying for you. Whatever it is.
It's funny you say that. I asked a couple friends this morning if they wanted to do this cleanse with me, just because, again, I want to create that strong room. And if we're together, we're stronger together, not apart. So if we can create those people that are going along these challenges with us, these things that we take so seriously, then we can actually become more successful as a team. And that's with anything in life. So I think we went through a lot of information here. Again, our goal here is not to fight the medical community. That's not where our heart is. It's not to fight people that have gone through this process with medicine before and have actually seen great success with that. Our goal is to help you people that are diagnosed with cancer or have never been even diagnosed or thought about cancer before. Help equip yourself with the information necessary to never get diagnosed or reverse it naturally. So.
Yeah, guys, we have a lot of people viewing this. I'm sure that there's going to be more as you go. But I just want to ask a favor to just like and share this for us. We just want to get this information out to as many people as possible. And there's people that have been lied to. There's people that are completely disconnected. They are sick and they are dying and they need help and they need hope. And you can be that beacon of hope. You can be that lighthouse. You can be the one that throws out the lifesaver and brings somebody back in. So just simply like and share it. Tag a friend's name that you know that maybe they need to hear this, even if it's not about cancer. But this is really, when it comes to cancer, is just a word, right? This is all about health awareness, and health really prevention of sickness. So we want to just empower you again to tap into that inner doctor, get the knowledge, but most importantly is to take the action and move closer to prevention.
Perfect. Like it, share it, get somebody with this information that they need it immediately. And again, the law of diminishing intent, the longer you let this stuff kind of go on the back burner, the less likely you are to take action. And for us, we take action daily. And if we fall off track, we get right back on and make sure that we stay on track together as a team. So thanks for being here today, guys. We'll see you on Friday with 5 Essential Friday. We're going to make that a cancer theme as well to get into even more understanding of what we do to prevent and fight cancer each day. Thanks, guys. We love you.